Good evening and welcome to Math 101. No, I'm just kidding. This is the Power Hour. How y'all doing tonight? I'm Steve, along with the urban sensation, NWA superstar, the legend. You've heard the stories. He's right here. It's C Red. Hello, Red.
What's going on?
We have got Chicago knockout extraordinaire, the legendary Cactus Rack. Hello, Cactus.
Hey girl, hey.
That is used. That is a one serious stretch you got going on some poor hapless victim up in that picture.
That is our guest.
That is so that you decided at one point you had to take out the referee and the goat
Yes.
is stretched beyond his limits.
That is our guest.
Okay, well then that's ceremonial, and of course we have I guess PX is dead, so I guess we'll call you Top Fan. Don't think the cute baby is going to stop us from assaulting you, Top Fan.
Now, listen, you got to also mention that I am Baby LaGreca's childhood hero, not Tony Gabagool.
Does Baby LaGreca know this?
Baby LaGreca is well aware of this.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you take Baby LaGreca for Dutch babies, you'll automatically become his childhood hero. I'm just saying.
Yes,
Wait, did you take him without his parents?
I had permission of the parent.
Oh God.
I'm highly concerned.
I am. I'm calling DCFS on that shit.
I will be attending the next Dutch baby breakfast if you're handling a baby alone.
What in the hell qualifies you to be in charge of anybody? You can't even be in charge of yourself.
Well, I mean, what qualified Tony Gabagool to be his childhood hero? Let's ask that question.
Sperm, probably.
That's probably a fair point, I would say. But at the same time, I'm the LIM champion. Tony's not.
That's fair. I can't argue with that. All right, so let's before we get into the Frontline Pro stuff, before our guest, the GOAT of Menendez, Abbas, joins us, I want to Abbas. So okay, I had it. Totally okay. Let me Abbas. Okay, got it. I will not make. Thanks, Cactus. You saved me some embarrassment. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
It's always important to pronounce right. That's we do that here. We take pride in our pronunciation here on the Power Hour. What the fuck is going on JFW?
Which part specifically?
In December, fucking C Red falls on his sword, brings the universe back together in sweet harmony, and we have been in lockstep this entire year. We have kumbaya the shit out of the podcast world on FreakNet. We have done all the things. We lived up to Red's expectations. Red had to retire to bring our universe together. And, here we are. And at the end of the show, there are still impressions of me.
They're flattering impressions.
Are they? I mean,
are.
To call him Travis Steve and to have him emulate one of my frontline rants about, what I say to creator Ben.
I mean, here's the thing. He has done that impression pretty much since I've been on. And I'm going to tell you, the audio doesn't know justice. You have to see the video because its imitations of the sincerest form of flattery, Steve. And I mean, he's got you down to a science. I'm not going to lie.
That's fantastic. He has way too much time on his hands if he's trying to emulate me. I don't. Why did he choose now to want to attack my attack on Frontline Pro? You guys made it sound like all I do is come into companies and get into fights. I mean, that's kind of what I do, but not the whole thing.
Yeah, you do kind of do that, though, Steve.
Yeah, it's never my fault.
Never my fault.
Though he's been doing that impression for quite a while, and he's not mocking what you're doing by any stretch. Travis is not
sure about that. I mean, I would like to know what the fourth mother box has.
Let's be honest.
I would think Travis would say that's not flattering.
Do we know Travis to necessarily be the mocking type? That seems out of character for him.
Yeah, because if you don't listen to the JFW podcast, go fuck yourself, right?
That is true.
So there you go. The point makes itself. Actually, it was actually rather entertaining, and he was pretty spot on. I'm not going to lie. So I don't know whether to be pissed off or pleased. So I'm just going to maintain neutrality and say Pax, since you are the figurehead of the JFW podcast and you're in charge, you need to keep a rein on your co-hosts because I feel like Turtle's been getting a little off the rails lately. I feel like Travis, I don't know if Travis ever had rails to begin with. But you're the guy, you're the straw that stirs the drink. You need to keep that shit on lock, brother.
I mean, the thing is, and I'm glad you see the same thing that I see with Turtle, because ever since everything happened with Danny, me and Turtle used to be tight before that. But now, every chance he gets, he always mocks the top fan. And I don't appreciate it.
Love Pax. PX is great. The top fan's a cocksucker. So I don't support the top fan in any way.
I mean, I think I do pretty good. Five successful title defenses of the LIM Beer Drinking Championship. You know how hard it is to retain a beer drinking championship like that? It's
How many
difficult.
days have you been the beer drinking champion?
I actually do have a count of that, so I'll tell you in a minute. I have been the LIM beer drinking champion for 248 days.
Quite a
And
few
that's
days.
not anytime soon.
To me, you are a paper champion because in my world, there is only one beer drinking champion, and that is, of course, the timeless Sean Danger.
I mean, who knows? I mean, I've had my eyes on that SWA beer drinking championship.
Danger would kill you.
I would give it a shot. I'm
There's
not
like a Wolverine when you piss him off. He's all happy-go-lucky and drunk, and then the switch flips and he turns into the Tasmanian Devil.
I mean, that'd be an interesting matchup, though. Two beer drinking champions, two decorated beer drinking champions, going mano-a-mano and drink for drink to determine who the superior drinker is.
Danger's going to get you. I'm just saying. Danger's going to
be interesting. That could be interesting.
It would be interesting. All right. So because Travis Steve did his little dissertation, let's pick up there real quick before Abbas gets here because we've got a lot to cover with him. And it's going to be glorious. I'm telling you this, by the time we're done, this might be the pinnacle of the power hour. We might have to retire by proxy tonight. So we've got this thing called Hold the Line this Saturday night in Wisconsin. Red, you have heard me lament the creator Ben over the past several months, right?
Yeah.
He came on this show and he said some offensive things as he does. And he's threatening everybody. He's threatening to injure people and make it be my fault. Well, at the last show, the Rapture crumbled. He lost his title. So everything that he was popping off about ended for the Brave. They were left in shambles. He had to be carried out by officials with ice, kind of like New Japan. So as far as I'm concerned, do you remember that scene in Rudolph the Red? You guys watched the Rankin and Bass Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? You've seen that show, correct? At Christmas time, it comes out, the claymation puppets, right?
Yes.
Red, you've been watching that shit for 45 fucking years. Ever since you put your eyes on the television, you watch that at Christmas. Don't even give me no shit.
I don't watch it anymore, but
you should watch it because it's a life lesson.
No.
All those Rankin and Bass things give great life lessons. Like in Santa Claus is Coming to Town, for example, they have the song Put One Foot in Front of the Other. I think half the people I fucking know need to hear that song because nobody wants to get out of their way. Put one foot in front of the other. It's a pretty simple process, but there you go. So you can learn a lot from the Rankin and Bass guys. It's a lot about reaching down deep inside to find something special in everyone. That's the hallmark of Rankin and Bass. That's what makes it magic for children and adults alike. But in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer specifically, they were fighting most of the time against the abominable snow beast. You remember the abominable snow beast? He was intimidating everybody. It was very scary. And then, Red, if you were a character in the Rankin and Bass world, you would be Yukon Cornelius. There's absolutely no doubt. The resemblance is uncanny. You, my friend, are Yukon Cornelius. And
I got this.
that's Burgermeister. That's not Yukon Cornelius. Get your Google straight. Your Google's out of line, top fan. If Pac-Man was doing this shit, I would be looking at Yukon Cornelius right now, not Burgermeister Meisterburger. So let's course correct on the Rankin and Bass, shall we? But what happens is the monster is scary, terrified me as a child. But at the end, Herbie, the elf that wants to be a dentist, pulls the teeth out of the monster, and then the monster becomes everybody's friend. Look past the visage, see what's real. That's the message there. So basically what happened is Ben Evenson took a pair of tweezers like Herbie the elf and yanked the abominable snow creature's teeth out to where he's powerless and has no power to scare anybody. So as I'm driving up to hold the line this Saturday, I'm not worried about a goddamn thing because the man got crushed, his title got destroyed, and the entire Rapture is running for the hills. So there's not really a problem at Frontline anymore. It's basically been taken back over. Now that's well done. That is well done right there. That is some good quality photoshopping right there. That is Yukon Red right there. Hey man, that guy was a world traveler. Man, a lot like you, man. He travels all over the place. Takes his
I don't think Yukon Red signed up for this.
I don't think he did either. But it's still a fun visual, and I'm glad Pac-Man made it. I want you to send that to me so I have it for internet purposes later on down the line. That'll be good at the Christmas episode. If we're still doing this shit in December, that'll certainly make a reoccurring, and that will be fun. But you never know. Tomorrow's promised to no person. So going back to Hold the Line, it's a great card. Red, I'm gonna appeal to you on some of these matches to see what you think as we're waiting for Abbas. Rachel, you chime in as well. We'll get our picks down, and then next week we'll see how we did. In the first match, it's the hipster hunk, Aaron Arsenal, making his big return to Frontline. He is no longer working tag team with Coda Jacobs, at least at the moment. He's in singles competition about someone you know well. I believe he's one of your many nephews in wrestling, Corey McHenry, the moneymaker. So you've got the hipster hunk with the handlebar mustache, can finesse it, knows every move in the book, is extremely gifted in that ring. One of the best I've ever seen. And Corey McHenry, a young up-and-coming guy, he has been on top of the world lately, has championships at IPW. He is on the up-and-coming. He's big at Wrestle League. So Corey McHenry is here and now, too. How do you see that match breaking down? Do you think Corey's got enough to beat the more seasoned Aaron Arsenal, or do you think Aaron Arsenal wins this in a walk? Aaron Arsenal's been around. In Wisconsin, he's like God up there next to Joe Jet Avalon.
No, I know who Aaron Arsenal is. Can Corey pull the upset? He could, but he has to stay focused. These past few months, talked about, IPW, he's been focused. I don't know if he goes into Arsenal's backyard. And then it depends on how Arsenal is going to play this. Is he going to be a technician? Is he going to be a brawler? Or is there going to be shenanigans?
Well, Draven Stryker will be there, and up until before his departure, he was part of Stryker Industries. And you never know where Coda Jacobs is. I mean, he could make his triumphant return. So you're right, shenanigans are certainly in play here.
So I mean, I want to pick Corey, but he's got to stay focused. And I mean that again. Literally takes 3 seconds. So you mess around, Arsenal will put you down. So I'm gonna say Corey, but I'm gonna put an asterisk by it.
Red with an asterisk. What about you, Rachel? What say you of this very interesting matchup?
I am always 100% Team Corey.
Rack is Team Corey. What about you, top fan? Do you have a stake in this game?
Cash money. That's my guy.
Okay. I'm going to be the only one that differs. The dangerous Aaron Arsenal is just that, dangerous. So I think even though Corey McHenry's riding high right now on an incredible roll, Aaron Arsenal is the roll killer, and that will happen this Saturday night at home with Brave. A tag team I'm unfamiliar with is working the show, Milwaukee Vice. so I can't really give you a description of them. I have been trying to research them. I'm going to have to get some cliff notes from my broadcast colleagues, Thrill and Chris, to figure out what Milwaukee Vice is. I imagine if you're called Milwaukee Vice, you're kind of a badass tag team in the Wisconsin area. But they fight Lennox Leone, the Golden Lion, and Jordy Lee. Those people we know pretty well. Although I can't make an educated guess without knowing the other team, I know the heart of Lennox Leone, especially when he is without our good friend Levi. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say pick 'em because I need to know Milwaukee. What do you think?
Picking the Vice.
Oh, you know the Vice.
I mean,
Well, tell me a little about the Vice if you
No,
got.
I don't know the Vice. I saw a picture of this past week. So
You're going with the Vice.
yeah.
Rachel, what do you say? Yes, no,
I
maybe
am also going with Milwaukee Vice. They just sound cooler.
just because you like the way it sounds. What about you,
Yes.
Pat?
I'm going with Milwaukee Vice, but only because you mentioned Levi and he totally spoiled Deadpool and Wolverine for me. So it might be a little petty, but that's
Can't
why.
blame Lennox Leone for that. All right, well, I'm going to take
Yeah,
Lennox.
we can. Yeah, we can.
Guilt by association, Steve.
I suppose that's probably true. I don't think Levi will be up there. I don't think he has reliable transportation to get there. So I'll take Lennox and Jordy just to be different. So,
Thank God.
all right. So we are going to put a hold on the frontline prognostication. We got through a couple of them. We'll do a few more afterwards. But we're going to welcome in the one true GOAT of Menendez. And this is Abbas, and he is logging into his computer here. I am excited to have him on the show tonight because he is a wealth of mystery to me. And after going through this Mathematics for Misfits book, I want to know about the wild side of this man, because to come up with some of these theories is either a serial killer or a beautiful genius. So we are going to find out which one Abbas is tonight. Hello, GOAT.
Hi, how's it going? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can see you. You are blazing the colors as we often do here on the Power Hour of the Roller Derby. Everybody say hello to the GOAT.
Hello, Goat.
Hi, rush in. It looks like we're on neutral territory, so hello to you.
Although
Yes.
she's rocking that picture. I don't know if you've seen her picture, but she's got you in quite the hold there, my friend.
You know
that
is,
photo is a fan favorite.
All things said, that is one of my favorite moments ever of playing this game. It's good. It's probably my top favorite moment ever of this so far. I don't know that anything's going to top that yet, unless I get beaten up by her again, which I have been.
Yeah, I mean, but not on that scale. We'll have to arrange something.
I think so.
She is ill-tempered, so it's always a possibility. Red, say hello to the GOAT.
Hello, GOAT. I'm loving the t-shirt.
Oh, thank you. Yes, you know what? I love this shirt. This is one of my favorites. I was just talking to Rihanna about this the other day, actually. So, yes.
I am a huge Soundwave fan. So
So there, you thought you were going to be in trouble with the math episode, Red, and you've already found common ground with our.
that ain't got shit to do with math.
But wait,
I'm sure that Goat will tell you otherwise.
There will be and we've got GOAT here not only to find out the lore of what makes the GOAT, the Swiss Army knife of the Chicago Knockouts, but we've got this book, Mathematics for Misfits. This is volume 1.1. We're going to go over some of the more interesting topics in said book. And we are also going to talk about volume 1.2 because Cactus has a little something cooking in that book. So we have discussed, and I think Red will enjoy that part of it very much. But there's some stuff in part one that are, as I was going through it, getting the show together, I'm like, this can't be real, but somehow it is. And GOAT will show us how math is much cooler now than it was when you were a child, especially in this book. But before we go there, I want to know how you became the GOAT. How did you get into this crazy roller derby thing and be more than a skater, more than a performer, more than a sound guy? It's like you're the jack of all trades, because when I get there to when I leave, you never sit still for 0.8 of a second. So speak about your legacy, my friend.
Well, thank you very much for your kind words, as always. So as you guys are undoubtedly familiar, right? I've been part of like DIY stuff since we were teenagers, and we've had conversations where you used to work at the Homewood Rec, Homewood Record Shop or
The
Homewood
record swap.
Records. Record swap. What am I talking about? Duh. So, and old record stores were like, as a teenager, that was like our mecca, right? We would just seek out record shops and go record shopping because you wanted to buy hard to find records released by local or independent labels, and you had to find your own stuff. All the stuff on the top 40 radio, some of it was okay, but most of it was nonsense. And so music was kind of like that forte into the art world. And so people I knew starting our own bands, putting on local shows, going to watch. And then you'd go and look. And at that time, I was getting really into like underground heavy metal. And we've had some of the greatest heavy metal bands in the fucking world out here in Chicago. And some of them you could just go see on stage right down the street, right? So imagine people watching Black Sabbath back in the day, just performing locally. Like I believe I saw bands of that caliber performing at local random clubs, and then afterwards they were just a few years older than us, and you could just go chit chat, and they were just the coolest down to earth people. And you really learned how this is just people getting up and making shit happen, right? They are just booking these shows, they are hauling the equipment themselves, they're tuning all their own instruments, they're doing every little piece of what needs to happen to make this production happen on their own. And so I had the greatest teachers in the world, I think. And you could go to these stores like record stores and meet other awesome people doing different pieces, right? People, the clerks, one of the guys, do you remember Music Warehouse in Downers Grove?
I sure do.
One of the greatest stores ever. So a friend of mine who's, we became friends with him over the years, but this guy named Tom, he would advise us. He was a few years older and a little bit ahead of us on demos and new releases. And I can't tell you the number of records he recommended to us that myself and probably 4 or 5 different people independently met this guy and all knew, like, oh, dude, this guy knows what's up. And then how many other people at the record stores would just be like, dude, check this out. Here's a show. Here you go. Here's a flyer, and like you build that network. So all through my 20s, right, I got knee deep into music, and I published in a magazine, I had a radio show, I had a band, my friends had a label, we would put on shows, I would orchestrate like at the Milwaukee Metal Fest, right,
Oh,
at the
wow,
time the
that's
biggest
a
metal
huge deal.
event. Yeah, so all these people, I was online all the time too. So chat rooms in the late 90s, my brother and I would tape trade through the mail. Because again, before there was internet, we were doing everything through the hand, through handwritten letters and pen pals and trading tapes and whatever. And then you extrapolate to the internet. Well, of course, me being a social butterfly, I started making friends with people all over the world, sending our demos out, trading, whatever. I got a lot of like hard to find stuff. I got one record. I remember I sold it on eBay later for like several $100s because it was like one of 100 records. And that's only because it was slightly creased when they shipped it because somebody else had sold theirs for $1,200. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I wouldn't normally want to do this, but I was paying for college that summer, so I sold a whole bunch of my records. But we met our idols. We met, we were like part of a movement that eventually became more mainstream. So to see that stuff grow over that time was such an amazing experience. And then eventually I was like, all right, well, none of this is paying the bills. I'm paying to do this. So I went back, and through working at the College of DuPage radio station, a guy overnight was like reading this interesting book on extra dimensional physics and these weird theories, and I was like, oh, cool. By the way, just to be aware, one of the impetus of the book, right? I was very good at math, and then I got really sick and tired of it at 18 years old, and it was just like, I don't know what I'm doing with this. I'm done. I am never opening a math book again. So for several years, I refused. I did not go to school. I was just done with it. And then it all brought me back working at radio, and I read this book and it unlocked some stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, this is what I was studying, but I had no idea that this is what the applications were. So I decided, I enrolled back in school because I started working at a daycare. The movie School of Rock, when it came out, my cousin was like, they made a movie about you. Like, I'm like, yeah, I used to bring in musical instruments I had my friends' bands play at the daycare. That's a whole nother discussion.
That's a great discussion to have.
Yeah, so it's just that was the best job I ever had. Like I just, I made sure the kids were just exploring every facet of their imaginations possible, right? So I would have to make sure I brought in old school games and video games, and then I would teach them about economics and physics and whatever. Anything I was learning, I'm like, all right, you want to learn about, I'm studying genes and chromosomes and biology. So I started teaching about it, and then we're watching Charlotte's Web. And at the ending, I'm like, oh, do you see what this movie is about? And they're like, friendship. I'm like, yeah, no, it's all about genetics. And they're like, oh, come on. I'm like, I gotta find this t-shirt I have, because I have somebody brew a t-shirt about me like forcing kids to learn physics. But I was like, listen, the kids were like not going to be genetically fit, so they were about to die out. But then Wilbur, through his friendship, saved them, and Wilbur was suffering that same thing. And it's all about anyway. So I was like,
That's a
some of them
rabbit
came
hole
back
you're
years
down right
later.
there. You're going down a Charlotte's Web rabbit hole right there.
Yes. So that was the nature of that. And then so I got
Oh,
back
use
into
another
school
one.
at that time.
My bad.
Rian's calling a timeout.
Sorry,
We got a
apparently-
special timeout for tonight. It's our Judgment Dave timeout.
Love it.
Go ahead, right? Or Rian, this is your first timeout. Red Rian. It's like Red Rover. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as far as the rabbit holes, Goat and myself went down one on Sunday about Transformers and video games. It's real easy to do with him. I just want to just put that out there to like this is him.
He was
flat
just
out.
talking about Shockwave, but we started.
Like legit, like that. Go ahead. I didn't even have a question. It's just something that needs to be said. Like it's
Well,
very easy.
we've got many a rabbit hole we're going down this book, and
I do have one question.
Oh yeah. Right. So I will hurry up and answer the question. But yeah, the point is all of that DIY stuff. Like I went back to school, got my degree, started teaching, and then getting more into this. Okay, I got to get a job and grow up and all that. But people, everybody I know at that point was sort of playing in bands and sort of moving into professional environments, but we're still sort of underneath it. We still missed or appreciated. And anytime people was doing something, we'd get together and have a show, right? It was sort of DIY. Like I sort of still eschewed this mass market stuff. I did it to a degree, but I'm like, you never lose that ethos. So that sort of led me to getting involved in like the school union, the part-time faculty union at one of the schools I worked at, and just trying to let kids know, like, hey, you guys can build whatever interests you have. You can build things from it. Here's some tools that you might be able to use to build things. And then eventually, I needed to get more exercise, so I bought a bike. And then sort of biking a ton, like 2013-ish. I think I finally bought a bike again, and then started biking a shit ton for a few years. Then I moved down to Mokina area, and I couldn't keep my bike in my place, and I wasn't really biking because it was being stored really far away. And then I had a conversation with somebody around that time about roller skating. I was like, oh, I like roller skating. I'll go with you sometime. Like I went with the daycare a handful of times. I went once or twice here and there, and I really liked it. And then I was like, what the? So I finally went and bought roller skates in like July or August of 2017. So I had something to do while I was out in Mokina. And when they got on my feet, it was like a goddamn beast had awoken from slumber. I was like, why did these ever come off my legs? Because as a kid, I did it like a lot of kids, the Gen X kids, right? And as soon as I put them on, I'm like, oh, where the fuck has my head been at? Like, I can't believe I've not been doing this. And then at that point, I was just going everywhere I could, and then looking up like, well, are there skate meetups? Are there I started learning about roller. I think I found roller derby just by searching things. I think I went to a WCR match here and there. I might have gone to an outfit one. And then finally social media worked, and I saw an ad for knockouts. And I was like, oh, okay. So I followed it, and then, just trying to find out more info. And I'm like, wait, this is like nearby to me. Like it was down at when they were at Markham. So I think in 2018, October, November, I think I went to the October bout, and they're playing Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Sabbath over the little speaker. And it's just super. And I could tell it was totally DIY. I was like, this is cool. What the hell is this? And then afterwards, all the skaters are cleaning everything up and putting everything away. I'm like, oh, this is the shit that I used to do. This is DIY. Like they're just putting this fucking thing on hand and foot themselves, right? So I went to November, and then I asked, at that time I was discovering a lot of I became a vegan sometime around that time, and was discovering like a ton. Like that was another thing where it was like, instead of lining up to buy concert tickets, I would line up at all these vegan pop-ups to buy like stuff that was going to sell out from like a local baker. Like it was hilarious. Same thing. I go, all right, I got all the skills for this. I know who's doing what, where, and we'll talk about the RiceLords another day, because that's my vegan street mafia where I
You have to give them like a
deliver things.
little bit of a hint about the RiceLords.
I basically acquire hard to find vegan baked goods or items, and I meet people in parking lots and swap that for cash, and then I leave. So that's my vegan street mafia. And if you need stuff that's hard to find, you call me. I'm, that's I have another alter ego for that.
He's your guy.
Yeah, but it's very much like buying
He's a vegan
rare
filter
records and
man.
albums.
And Red, you thought you wouldn't have anything in common.
I have one question.
I'm not a vegan.
Is it okay to go through the Facebook and put up photos if with your permission? Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Oh.
I ask everyone just in case.
Yeah.
But I wasn't here earlier.
Sorry. Yeah, please do.
All right.
That's all put out there,
Okay.
That was one of the things I had to decide years ago. I'm like, I'm not gonna prance around online and just hide things. I'm like, you're either gonna see me mouthing off and cursing off, or you can fuck off, because it's like enough is enough. Like, I don't know how to filter this shit,
That's fair.
So
Fits right in with us. Fits perfectly here. So let's get in. So, okay, so you've seen the roller derby. How did you become? You're at the knockouts. You've seen the DIY. When did you become part of the family?
Oh, so in November, I think it was, I had asked if they were interested in serving food at the event, because a friend that I met at those markets had catered for Chicago Outfit. And I was like, hey, I'd like to go to one of these events. And usually the rinks don't necessarily have any vegan options. They might have a vegetarian option, but not like, if I could just have a meal and watch this, anytime I go anywhere, the first thing is like, where am I going to eat? I want to have a meal while I enjoy whatever the hell it is I'm doing. So I thought I would ask, hey, would you be interested in having some food vendors here? Because I know somebody. So I think it was Up to No Goods, or Apex Shredder, however you want to refer to him. His mother, I think, was actually working the ticket booth, and then she went and got Crimson Vixen, because she's like, oh, you need to talk to her. So Crimson was like, oh, hey, you had a question about food. So I pitched a question. She's like, you know what? We don't, but do you have a company? I don't, but a friend of mine does. And she's like, well, who is it? And I mentioned who it was, our friends from St. Martin. And she's like, oh, I love St. Martin. I'm vegan. I'm like, me too. And so that was like, wait a minute, hold on. This is amazing. We're both roller skaters and we're both vegans. And then we ended up meeting up like a week or so later to possibly talk about this. And that actually spurred another idea that we started called the Plant-Based Skate. Which was like an open skate market with a bunch of vegan vendors. And we started collaborating on that. And then she became sort of like a teacher about roller skating. I was like, hey, so, this is really cool. And at some point, I'm sure I probably asked, do you need any help at Chicago Knockouts or whatever? And then I think somehow the question came up about volunteering, refereeing. I think I'm sure I just would have asked, hey, do you guys need any extra help at the events for cleaning up or whatever? And she probably mentioned how, yeah, they're always looking for referees. And I'm like, done, because I would love to do this. All of that DIY stuff I was just ranting about for 15 minutes was like, I got this. Let me put some time and energy into helping this production go, and I'll learn how to skate better. And I can be, I'll have the best seat in the house being a referee, and apparently they need people. So, okay, yeah, I'm local, I'm nearby. So Crimson kind of took me under her wing and just taught me a shitload about skating in a short amount of time, and then taught me how to play the game and the rule set of the game. And then I just sort of picked it up from there. And then at that point, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm just going to show up to practice, meet some folks, and then just figure out whatever needs to get done will get done. So little by little, originally I wasn't really helping out with setup. I was just kind of showing up and doing refereeing. And then eventually I'm like, well, why don't I just help you set up stuff? Because, I'm just sitting at home doing not much otherwise. So I think just gradually over time, just by asking if she needed more help with stuff, and then, just building up that relationship, it just started becoming more central to it. And then, of course, when we had talked about the bank track, so when she was able to win the bank track from eBay, I was like, dude, okay, let me know if you want to go pick the thing up. Like, of course, like I would love a road trip. And then that ended up working out that way. So that was awesome. And then just, every step of the way, I'm like, look, if stuff needs to get done, I'm going to prioritize this so that stuff gets done, because this, knockouts they're fucking amazing. I'm like, this needs to happen. I need to put time and energy into making this space happen, this space available, because all these skaters are training and skating their asses off. So if somebody who isn't necessarily bouting, but can at least offset some of that time so that they can devote more time to doing their craft, done. You know, that's how all the shit that I was able to attend when I was younger was happening because people did that.
That's amazing. Now, Rion pulled up a picture of bank track skating. Is that you skating on the bank track?
Yeah, that's me in the yellow shirt.
Well, there you go. That's very nice. We're looking forward to the day we find a venue so we can do knockouts on the bank track. Right, Cactus? We want that to happen, right?
Yep, but I won't be skating on it, so I don't know how much we want that.
Why won't you skate on it?
Because I can't.
Oh, see, that's I've never. I mean, I've seen movies. I see what the bank track is. Obviously, there's a lot of difference between skating the bank track and skating flat.
Yes. And yeah, my muscle. We'll say maybe. Since my surgery, I've discovered that a lot of the issues I've had skating are because I've been compensating real hard on my right side. And so the muscles that I needed were not being used. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll put it at a maybe.
I mean, we're definitely going to need training help. So I hope, Cactus will be. I think it would be extremely beneficial to have somebody who understands skating and falling and all of that, as you have, to transfer that at least on that, on that surface. And refereeing, perhaps maybe the roles will be reversed, because I'm hoping I can actually play. Because Crimson had asked, like, do you want to play? I'm like, I do, but I would rather play on banked instead of ref. But we'll see. I will be wherever I'm needed. But I'm hoping Cactus is integral to this as any one of us. So
there's no
she's
doubt
got to be
about that.
somehow.
What was your question?
I'll figure it out.
Well, it's not so much a question, it's more of a statement. If you ever want to know as far as what GOAT is willing to do, you can look at this photo. I'm pretty sure this is about. I'm not even sure what he's doing on the ladder, but he is in full bout gear with skates on.
He climbed the ladder with roller
Doing-
skates on. I can't even
forget
imagine what that
he's-
is.
I'm not even sure what's
I
happening.
think he was mounting a camera or something.
I don't know.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure this is during about. If you ever are curious as far as like what he does, it's a lot of this.
After I've made all my notes at about, what I do is I watch Abbas go all over the place, and he makes me exhausted by the time the show starts, because and the amount of speed he gets on skates quickly to be able to jump from the ground onto the stage never ceases to amaze me.
With skates on,
With
not even
skates
with
on.
his feet, with skates on.
It's really quite something to see. The legend of the GOAT looms large in Homewood. That is for sure.
You guys are very sweet. Thank you.
So here we are. The knockouts have really taken to Homewood, and Homewood has really taken to them. The crowds get bigger and bigger each time. Their presence in the community is significant. I hear people talking when the parade was happening. People are like, "Oh my God, the knockouts were at the parade." Their visibility. I mean, with the GOAT Queen, the knockout presence at the Feast of the GOAT Queen was huge. I don't understand how that works, though. You being the GOAT and being the Feast of the GOAT Queen, I feel like you should have had a larger role in that.
Well, the Feast of the GOAT Queen, I think, predates me being. Well, maybe it was around the same. I don't remember now. That's a great question, but no, that's just. I was just there directing some of the. I asked, Ray, if what can I do to help this, and so I was able to at least just help some of the vendors get to where they needed to go, and then I was just vending as well. So it's one of those where I'm like, there's enough going on here with me trying to do A, B, and C. And I appreciate everybody, that's the thing. I didn't have time to put out the outfit or anything like that. So I just wore, I think, my Chicago outfit, yellow t-shirt with the cat on skates, which people were very kind to compliment. But the costumes and everything about that event was just incredible, absolutely just totally amazing. One thing, if I may, on that, this thing with goats has been going on for decades. number one from heavy metal, obviously, but number two because goats are the fucking best. So back in the 90s, early 90s, I had my own bulletin board system because a couple of friends suggested, why don't you start one? So I did, and it was called The Pasture of the Rancid Goat. And I ended up having like 30 sysops, which were all local sysops from other boards that just put the word goat into their name. And so there was like 40 people on the thing, all with the word goat in their name. And we were just bantering back and forth about complete nonsense. And it was hysterical. So this has been going on and so now the fact that this kind of works out to the way that it is just, I was like, this is great. It's like full circle.
And it's amazing. And, you are probably one of the most beloved people in the knockout universe. I mean, you talk to anybody and you even mention the GOAT, and people will go on a full-on 10-minute diatribe about how amazing you are. Rion will go on a 10-minute diatribe about how, Russian Blue, Cactus Rack. You are adored. Does that make you feel great that you're just one of those people that everybody adores?
Again, you guys are very, very sweet. That does warm my heart infinitely. I can't tell you how much. I don't do anything for that purpose, but I do appreciate very much that it does that people do get something positive out of this. That's what it is about. It's just like, just put something good out there and then be there for people. And yes, what I tell a lot of other people is the right people will figure that out. So that tells me I'm in the right spaces, because I think there are people that are doing similar things and they recognize that about one another, and so if I can put energy into this or this or this in a way that I know somebody else would do as well, I think there's that mutual appreciation. And I adore everybody I've met through this organization. Like, everybody is just, the organization works so well because there are so many people that are just putting their energy in to make stuff happen. So if I can just help propagate that, that's awesome.
Well, you are a prince of a human. I remember when my first night at Knockouts, I was incredibly nervous because I was doing something that I had never done before, that I had only seen bits and pieces. So I felt completely unqualified. And the only person I really knew well was Cactus, who got me in the door to begin with. And I knew a couple of the wrestlers were there being fight refs and whatnot when I arrived. But of all the people there, you made me feel the most at ease. You were the most welcoming, and I'll always be grateful for that, because I could have walked away from that night saying, "Wow, this is just not for me." But you made me feel good about my experience more so than anybody else, and I'm still there, passing up opportunity after opportunity just so I can maintain my loyalty to the Knockouts, because I love it so much. So thank you for being a great human being at the beginning all the way through right now.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Like, you are a natural at that. So I'm really, really happy that you stuck with us, because what you bring to every bout is just perfect. It's when I'm putting that footage together, I'm like, this is like, Vixen has talked about, like, she would rather have somebody, like, people that can do multiple roles. She's like, it is more important to me to have a really good announcer than just about anything else, because she knows how critical it is to propagating the game, and she's 100% correct. Like, it is. And so to have such a great announcer there that understands the game now, right, and is just so enthusiastic about it, and you hear that in the recordings I have, and it just goes so well. And when I'm like editing certain cuts and putting things together, I'm just like, dude, Steve is delivering on this so well. So thank you for sticking with this, because we are so lucky and so thankful. Again, we attracted the right people, right? You put the right energy in and you're going to get the right people there.
Yeah, with Cactus showed me the way, and I'll be grateful to her forever for this opportunity, because it's been such a wonderful experience since day one. Now, we could talk about the Knockouts all night, and we'll talk a little bit about the bout a little bit later in the show, because we got the big return coming up August 24th. But it's time, students. It's time for math, suckers. The mathematics for misfits. I want to go. I'm gonna read you a couple of passages here. I gotta take off the glasses so I can fucking see, because the glasses are not prescription. I want to start with the one that jumped out at me immediately. Hang on a minute. Go talk to us about simple harmonic penetration. Because if we're going mathematics, we're going right in, and that's real. That's right in this book. Simple harmonics penetration. And it's a very interesting take on one of, if you just read it, positioned happy participants. So you're not talking about quadrilateral triangles on the surface here. This is something much, much more interesting and much deeper. So let's talk a little bit. Let's start there. Give us.
Is that the one with the Jello wrestling and the physics university or the physics club at the? Okay, that was a problem I actually gave my calculus students, because I was like, look, I'm teaching you multiple things at once. We're reviewing some trigonometry, we're reviewing some unit circle stuff, but also you need to learn vectors, and you're pulling a lot of the physics problems in the calculus courses. I think it's a multivariable calc course, is about like vectors and what they're doing. So I go, well, they're just modeling forces and people pulling things. So I was like, okay, so you have a circle with vectors coming out of it. I'm like, oh, that reminds me of some tug of war. And then I don't know what brought this memory on, but I went to a Jello wrestling event several years ago, which was a really shitty one. It wasn't like a great one like the IRD one that's coming up this weekend. It was a very stupid one at a very stupid place. And so my brother and my friend and I are there. We're like, oh, this is like a fucking terrible frat party with a bunch of gross, disgusting assholes, and this sucks. So we're gonna get the fuck out of here. But then I know there's a better way to do that. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring this concept to it's a perfect way to model what the fuck I'm trying to teach everybody here. So I decided to make a big circle and have a bunch of forces coming out of it, and then so in the next volume, right, there's going to be more of these simple harmonic penetrations. If you're talking about, say, people fucking, I'm like, well, that's just a sine wave. You're going up and down, in and out, in and out, in and out, right? You have an amplitude and then it's going in. That's what that is. So instead of simple harmonic motion, which is a classic topic in physics, we're talking simple harmonic penetration. So there's a very easy way to mathematically model this. You've probably seen a lot of films and movies on this, and people need to understand this if they want to make sex toys and sell things in probably one of the biggest entertainment industries in the entire world, right? So there is a lot of people, a lot of engineers that know this stuff, to build things and sell things. And then I don't know about, I mean, there are some video games. I'm sure that I don't play a lot of them anymore, but like, I don't play a lot of video games anymore, and I've seen a couple of the weird X-rated video games, and haha, they're fun, but there's probably people making mods of that stuff for some of these games where people are doing things, and it's like, well, there are equations that govern this.
Red, you got anything to add?
No.
That is the most amazing math lesson I've ever had. And I had a whole bunch of math as a student. And if it was like this, I might be a scientist, but alas, that ship has passed. So we've got that going for us. I want to go to another one. I found it very interesting, the theories and the hypotheses you put forward in Swinging in the Rain. How many threesomes are possible between 25 people? That's like kind of an equation, like if a train leaves Buffalo going 28 miles an hour and one leaves Boston. So talk to me a little bit about Swinging in the Rain.
Yeah, that's a combinatorial problem. So a lot of high school classes will have things about if you've got like, 4 marbles from a jar, like how many ways can you arrange them or move them? That's just an arrangement problem. I've got, 4 objects and I want to rearrange them. They call it a permutation. So I was like, all right, well, and then they have different types of these problems where you've got like a committee of people and you've got like a council of people. And one of them, it matters who's the president and the vice president and the secretary and the treasurer. And if you've got like, Steve and Rion and Red and Cactus, right? Well, one of you could be each one of those positions, but if you switch positions, that's a different council, right? So so that would be counted as a different collection of people. But if I was just to have like a committee of 4 people, right? If I had Steve and Rion and Red and Cactus, and you guys are just going to form a committee and talk, it doesn't matter where on the table you sit, right? All 4 of you could sit on the table anywhere. You're the same committee. So these are called permutation and combinations problems. And you have a collection. And what if there were 10 people and I wanted to pick 4 of you? How many different committees of 4 people could I make? These are just problems that show up in these classes, and they're very, very, very boring because you're just like, Well, as a high school kid, I'm not forming 4 committees out of 10 people. Like, why the fuck am I doing this? So I'm like, well, I started thinking about this, and somebody had mentioned her boyfriend at some point had taken, well, a couple of people I know had talked about going to swingers clubs. Great. And then somebody at some point told me this story about how this person who became her ex-boyfriend later, like, took her to this place on like a New Year's, and she's like, where the fuck are we? Like, had no warning. And I was like, oh, what the hell? And then later on, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Mathematically, that's the same thing. So I was like, I need to go to a swingers club and do some research. So she told me where this place was. It was in Oswego. It was super chill. So the story, then the paragraph that's talking about the mathematician goes to one on a rainy night, that's a true story. That was me and my friend going to one on a really rainy night. And then I asked about how many people were there, and I estimated it to be about 25 people. So we get there, and I'm asking these questions about, like, how do people get home with this? My friend's like, he's a mathematician. That's why, because this lady's giving me this weird look, like, why are you asking all these questions about how many of this and how many rooms and whatnot? And I was just surveying, the facility to be like, well, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So such and that is what it is, but I just was like, it's the same problem, but I need to dress it up, and it has to be based on some real data. So almost every single problem in that book is based on something real, and that was definitely based on something real. So eventually I was like, all right, so if you're forming like 3-sums or 4-sums out of a collection of people, it's the same thing. You've got a bunch of people. I'm going to pick 4 of them to make a committee, but that committee is just banging each other instead of, talking about a contract. That's all, but it's the same, mathematically the same thing.
Nobody got nothing, huh?
Red? I mean, that's some net. But here's my point. When he started talking about, he gave you the mathematical side of it, but then he put it in terms that you can understand, and all of a sudden you got very interested and eyes got very big. So I'm telling you, this is the math of the future.
That's why I live in the past.
If you go into dildo making, he's got an equation for you.
I used to know somebody that was in that field too, and sadly, it was way before I'd gone back to school. But I wish I could find her information or her company, because she was a fucking amazing human being. And I'm like, oh my God, I could have totally interviewed her for the next book.
So this is volume 1 of 1. You keep talking about the next book, and I want to talk about that because it directly affects our cactus rack, or Russian blue, whoever she's going by today.
I don't know if it affects me.
Well, you're
I think I affect it.
It's a very interesting subject, and I want to talk about that a little bit. Where can, like I said, Red now wants to read the stories. He wants to get this book so he can figure out the mathematical equations. So when he and wifey have date nights, maybe he can do a little geometry, a little isosceles triangle, if you know what I'm talking about. Come on, Red, don't be bashful now.
Well, it's so here's the thing. I apologize if people, one guy actually came to me at Goat Queen and said he'd been trying to buy it for a while and it kept being sold out. And that's on me, because right now I sell it primarily through Quimby's bookstore in the city. So it's just quimbysbookstore.com, I think, or if you just search Quimby's, Quimby, Chicago, like, they carry the hard copies, or if you want, you can just message me and I can send you one. People have just emailed me and I will mail one. So the thing is, right, this is where I kind of shoot myself in the foot, because I made the thing back in 2020 or 2021, and I've been sort of on pause with really promoting it because I've been working on an electronic version. And a lot of the impetus behind this was accessibility. So over the pandemic, I realized like how far behind accessibility was for people, especially learning mathematics, especially online. So I opened up several rabbit holes about how this stuff works, and then created a website about how do you generate mathematics that is accessible to low vision and blind readers. And I'm like, how do I make my book like that? So I have finally completed 2 versions of the book that are they function in both light and dark themes, and for the 2 different ways that you render mathematics in an ebook. And I need to clean up a few more things and kind of test them out. And then I will put those online. And then I turned the entire book into a website that you can just read for free. And if you want to buy the book, you can, or if you're going to buy the ebook. I'm in process of doing that right now, but I didn't want to promote the book until all of the versions were available, because I didn't want to leave, that community waiting and waiting and waiting while everyone else is reading it. So you can get the print book through Quimby's, and if they're out, I will drop off a handful, or you can contact me directly and I will get it to you. And then soon enough, the ebook will be available, and then I'm going to try to promote it a lot more at various different bookstores. I'm going to pop up at Moonlight Bean at Carrie's event on the 13th of September, Friday the 13th, and I will start to do more and more local markets when I can.
It's really a fascinating read. Like I said, I was never a big fan of math through school, but I actually read through this bad boy over a series of 2 days. You know, I didn't think when he gave it to, I got this as a birthday gift. He said, "Steve, I got something for you," and he handed me this book, and I'm like, "This is amazing." Because, you know, I don't get stuff very often, but this was amazing, and I felt so great that I got to see it. So of course I'm going to read it. So as I'm going through this, and you know, screaming X's. I mean, Red, he's got a whole chapter about your life here. Screaming X's. There are equations for that. I mean, we've all been there. Tell Red real quick.
Personal experience.
To the cactus. Tell Red how screaming X's work mathematically. Listen up, Red. You need this.
Well, you're running out the door.
Shit.
You're running out the door and your screaming X is just hurling objects at you, and it wants to hit you, right? So they've got to calculate your trajectory and they just hurl objects. And in this case, you know, you go out the door and you follow the sidewalk, and that path that you take is modeled by an equation that I put in the book. So that is another problem I gave my calculus students, by the way, exactly that problem. And it was a way for me to teach. There's a really stupid topic in first year calculus called related rates. And yes, it's a physics thing, and I really find it terribly boring because it's very little calculus and it's mostly just a lot of mindless, annoying algebra. So it's a good way to practice just stupid bullshit equations just to kind of, you know, get better at that, and fractions and exponents and all that shit that you need to be able to do. But I tried to dress it up in a way that it was at least interesting and kind of make them giggle a little bit so that they understand, oh, okay, you know, what do these terms mean? And I can picture somebody running around. And then, you know, the artist there is a friend that is awesome. So I was very happy with the artwork. I was so proud of because I commissioned it from all these local people that I met. And I mean, that's another thing, right? I consider the book to be an art form, and all of the artists that are in there are they just nailed it. I could not have asked for better artists on this.
So we've talked about penetration. We've talked about swinging. We've talked about violence. This is math, motherfuckers. This is math. This is the math we should have learned. We would all be a lot smarter if we had math this way. Red, you would love math.
No.
I beg to differ. But anyway, let's go right into Cactus's segment of what we hope that we will see in Mathematics for Misfits 1 Volume 2. Cactus, you want to kind of give me a rundown, and then we'll have the GOAT talk a little bit about. Yeah, I want to.
I mean, sure. I don't know what there is to say. So
Red, pay attention. This is important.
Is it that important?
I think it's important. I think if we
Okay.
had a better understanding of this, we would all be a lot better off.
Yes, I mean that is true. I would not be as crabby as I am.
Fair.
So we all know just by looking at me that I am a very large-chested person. Yes, yes. Okay, moving on. One of the issues that I have come across in my time is that bra sizing is fucking stupid. It doesn't make sense. It is so different no matter where you go. And when they tell you that like a band is smaller, half the time the cups are smaller too. So the shit you think is supposed to fit is not going to fit. And it has made me crazy. It has made me cry. It has made me have mental breakdowns in the middle of a mall. So do with that what you will, Abbas.
It's math to the rescue, GOAT. Take it away.
Yeah, so a friend of mine basically said she had to get like quote PhD in bra sizing to learn her own size and how this works because of how fucked up that industry is. It is a public health problem. I think this is a very
and that's
loose
not even
statistic,
a joke.
but
It is literally a public health problem. Like that's
yeah.
something I touched on, is that I have scars on my sides because like I would go in and I would get fitted and I would be told this is what's going to fit you, and it did not.
Yeah, Yeah, so and I've heard that story so many times from people. It is just like most people with breasts are not fitted properly. And my friend was giving me this chart about how you move and how you navigate what you're supposed to be done. And like you go to a proper place that fits you, they will measure you. And then a lot of times you pretty much have to get a custom one because you're not uniform all the way around. And there we go. You're not uniform. And
For algebra.
what they will tell you is what your band size is and what your cup size is based on the total measurement. And then you navigate this chart. If something doesn't work, you need to go down a band size, you need to go up a cup size because the total has to be the same. I'm like, you are describing an algebra problem. Done.
And
So
what they
I was
won't
like,
tell you is like at places like Victoria's Secret, they will downsize the cups when they downsize
yeah.
the band. Even if it fucking says it's a 36 double D, it is not fucking double D cups.
No. And the other thing, Europe doesn't do double D, triple D. It just goes to the next letter. So European sizes are more straightforward. So if you're like, say, a 36F, that's a total of 46 or 42 inches. F is 6, right? A is 1, yeah. So that's a 42-inch total because you're just 6-inch for the cup and then 36 for the band. And it's like, okay, but then again, you can still move along this chart. So I go, this is just algebra. So this is a public health problem. We need to address this. I'm going to just dress it up into some math problems to get people aware of this. And Cactus was gracious enough to write a really, really wonderful, like straight on point introduction to this whole problem set. And she's I'm going to just confirm it, but it looks like we'll be able to use some of her photographs as, supplements to these problems. And then if
I
it's
am
okay
not in the photographs.
Pardon?
I said I am not in the photographs before anyone gets excited.
Well, part of you is.
Part of me.
But what's really and one of those, okay, what's really cool is part of it is the bra that she's wearing has it's like a mesh covering, and it looks exactly like what you would see in a general relativity book about curved surfaces and a grid on a surface that's non-uniform and not flat. So eventually I'll be able to make some problems from general relativity out of Cactus's boobs.
You're welcome.
She's a star there.
Red, Red, you love math now, right? It's just simple algebra.
No.
Come on, Red. All right.
What do you want me to say?
I want you to ask Abbas some math. You have math questions.
I told you my math last week. How many hours do I work? What is my hourly rate? Does it add up? How many bills do I need to pay? And how much money I got left over? That is it. That's it.
There is a problem similar to that in the first volume. It's called Surrounded by Idiots. And it's about like organizations that are doling out labor and the least efficient way to do it because, how a lot of corporations are, right? They're not interested in actually doing things. They're just, it's the, people who don't know.
Capitalist scum.
Yes.
That's amazing. We have just covered, we've been doing this a little over an hour now. And we've been talking about math and roller derby. I mean, it's seamless. It's like they go hand in. There is a chapter in this book called Skate or Die. That tell me how roller derby, roller skating, and math line up.
So if you've taken any probably mostly you can do some of it in the geometry courses, but if you have taken like a trigonometry or pre-calculus or calculus course, roller derby and roller skating is exactly what's in the book, but from a first person's perspective rather than you just seeing it on a screen. So as soon as I started doing that, I'm like, oh, I'm literally teaching exactly these concepts about vectors and momentum and rates and curvature and, everything that Cactus, Crimson, any of the instructors that are talking about the physics of what's going on while they're demonstrating things during practice, they're just talking about things that you're going to see in a math or a physics textbook. So I just sort of listened. I said, I know the language with which I could turn this into some equations. So I've been making a bunch of, I made a model of WIFTA has already put out, and you can look up the WIFTA track dimensions. I recreated it, and then I made it adjustable so that when we were resizing the track for different venues, Crimson can go in there and sort of shrink the thing down and move it up. And then rotate it. And just a bunch of equations with some parameters, and it's like, there you go. And then I made a model of the bank track as well. So we've got a 3D model that you can rotate around and look at it. And I've been able to take the outline of it and shove it inside like potential blueprints for building spaces that she's looking at that are separated by, you know, the if there's any beams, they have to be separated by certain distance. So we can just take our model and just sort of, you know, scale it and glue it and see like, will we have enough space for, you know, to be safe enough away from this thing. It would be nice to make a game out of it one day, so that's on the horizon. And then I've been modeling a lot of the drills, like whips and the cyclone drill I was trying to. That was a real interesting challenge where I was able to bring in a topic called homotopy about how things morph into other things. But like a lot of the whips and the sort of paths and some of the drill work that we've been doing, I've been able to make equations out of it and just, you know, show people like animated moving around the thing. So, you know, a lot of games are using the same math. It's if you played Mario Kart or any of those kind of things, it's very, very similar to that stuff. But you know, you're doing continuous motion in through a surface, and that's just, you know, a lot of basic high school math and early college math that you deal with. And it's more physics. The math of it gets more abstract. So it's sort of a blend of applied math and physics, but it's just a very natural translation of a lot of those same concepts. It's a perfect vehicle for teaching a lot of those concepts, but you get to experience it from a first person point of view before you go back on you know, and then write down equations about it.
You can basically, I mean, they told us this in school, but I never believed it. I'm like, when am I ever going to need to prove a triangle is side angle side? But you can take math and you can find it basically everywhere.
Okay, so the whole point of this book and a lot of my being a teacher is civic engagement, because so much policy, at the end of the day, right? Math to me in its current form is this very sort of patriarchal, like 18th century old boys club. Like it marginalizes the people, because I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, especially women, that have been made to feel like stupid idiots and just shitty because they had terrible fucking misogynist, shitty teachers that were saying, well, you're a dumb girl that can't do math. Like it's so, and at young ages. So it deters a lot of people. And you can go to graduate, and it's changing. The climate is changing. But even, you know, you can go to a lot of graduate or even faculty departments all over the world, and you'll notice there's an extreme lack of diversity in these. And then when you talk about people just making CEOs, finance people, if you go to like a room full of finance bros, you talk about economists, stuff like that, that starts to become not a very diverse place. And that's because the systems that are funneling people into those positions are, you know, pushing a lot of people out of those places. And so when you have municipal financial decisions happening, when you have any sort of budget, economic decisions about policy being made, those rooms are lacking a diversity of voices. And so those policies end up reflecting the people that are in the room more than it does the general populace. So the whole point of this is to give people some way of saying, wait a minute, no, I can learn this stuff. It can speak to me. And this is being used out there in these ways. Here's how I can build these skills so I can ask these questions. And there is space for me to get a data science degree, to be an applied mathematician, to be an economist, to be a scientist, whatever, so that you are there, right? I mean, it was just like, I think 2019, like Georgia Tech had its first Black woman PhD, like 2019, you know, and it's like, it is still, you know, Hidden Figures was such a huge movie. There's a colleague that I met who, I forget what school she's at now, but in Ohio, at Ohio State, she had started the Black mathematicians, like the history of Black mathematicians throughout that university. And there's a lot of untold information there, right? There's a lot of female mathematicians that were not credited over time that discovered a lot of really groundbreaking stuff. And all of the theorems, most of the theorems you read in these books are all named after men and certain kinds of men, because a lot of that was formalized over the last few hundred years, where European powers were the major imperialist powers. So like the field itself is just sort of governed by, you know, men and certain kinds of men, and it's very gatekeepy and it's ridiculous, right? And again, coming from DIY background, all right, well, all the best musicians I know are self-taught, or they don't have degrees in music. I have people that have recorded music, some of the top, most technically sophisticated stuff you will ever hear, toured the world, made lives out of their music because they had a community, they had the tools to learn these things through their own way, right? And computers have been that way. Back in the 90s, up to the 90s, computers were still kind of like, okay, there's just a group of people that gets computers. And then through the 90s and into the early aughts, companies figured out, oh, wait, there's a lot of people that like to build this stuff. So they made stuff modular, they color coded it, they did all this shit so that dudes I know that never turned a computer on are suddenly building these really custom water cooled systems and like finding the overclocking. And I was like, it's like building cars, right? So the entire computer industry figured out how to make these tools available to people so that anybody can just get their hands wet and go. And coding has started to do that. It's getting a little bit better, but it's not great. And math is lagging way. It's like not even in this century. It is still, again, in my opinion, not even in the 20th century. So there should be a DIY way for people to become numerically literate because it's as important as your ABCs so that you can navigate interest rates and do I borrow this much money? Do I do blah, 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 whatever, like every damn decision you're dealing with. How do I understand AI? What the hell is it? How do these things work? Every decision you're going to be dealing with is going to have some sort of quantitative component further and further and further on. So we need more people to get into that forte, and we need to stop relying on schools that are, schools are doing what they're doing, but what I tell people, what I say in the book, right? If you wanted to become a chef and you just, you wanted to learn the culinary arts and you went to a school and they taught you how to microwave meals. Okay, that's the math that you learn in school. It's the equivalent of that. It's like, great, there might be some really good microwave meals, but that's not being a chef. That's not cooking. That's not understanding what you're doing, right? Top 40 radio, great, but it's not indicative of music. And the math you learn in school is exactly like that. It's this little tiny, piece of the pie that's great, but there's way more out there. And it's a very creative art form at the end of the day, and anybody can do it.
Brett, it's just like MC Search said. Ever heard of a chef that can't cook? So now you said gatekeeper, and that perked right up because that's something that wrestling knows all too well. Can you figure out math as it pertains to wrestling? Are you going to go down that road? Because yes. I feel like if you could.
Yeah, I need to consult with you guys 100% because there's a lot of video games that are built on that, right? They're modeling those physics over there. So wrestling is all physics, right? And you have to really know you're understanding it from a first-person perspective, right? So you're going to know, you can articulate it in different terms, but you're like, at this speed, with this much momentum, with this much weight, this much momentum, this is how much I'm going to impact somebody. And if it's more than they anticipate, they're going to be able to react. That's part of these things, is reacting to these things. If you get smacked around more than you needed, well, how do I respond, right? So it's all physics. There are specific positional things you do. There are ways that you land. There are ways that you stand. There are ways that you are going to accomplish these motions in order to be able to do this safely and not snap your necks, right? What you guys do is so difficult that people, you make it look easy. That's the thing. When you guys are experts at it, you make it look like, kids want to get in there and clothesline people. Well, I used to love trying to do that stuff when I was a kid, but I had no idea. And when I broke my arm, as soon as it was just get better, I'm like, oh, my brother and I are watching wrestling and I'm going to clothesline him. And then all of a sudden I'm screaming because my fucking arm hurts because it hasn't healed and I'm trying to clothesline people. And I'm like, dude, you can't just do that, like you need to understand, like when you're actually clotheslining, like there is a lot going on over there. So that's a whole world that I want to build so many problem sets out of that stuff. And I'm really excited. So we are all going to have several brainstorming sessions for the next volume on that.
We are going to start with the velocity equations of Marche Rocket's chops. Red finally got a question. He's got a math question. Oh my God.
No, I don't. But if Rion's going to put a picture up, Rion should put a picture up of Seth Rollins getting splashed last night like 30,000 times because the velocity and the impact, that was mad. That was
the velocity of Bronson Reed is what I'm bringing to the knockouts on August 24th. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh God.
Well, that's all I know. Bronson Reed, Seth Rollins, the velocity, and yeah, it was a whole lot going on there. It was a lot of math going on last night.
Actually, it was more than math. It was a felony.
I
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm all about this, man. You guys are music to my ears here.
So we're
It's
gonna
ironic because he said it, and I'm like, how many times did he get splashed last night? And yeah, and then the velocity and the ooh, yeah, that's mashed.
and here we go. And that's the spirit of our visit with Abbas tonight. It's how to make math interesting. And you said that math teachers, being a certain kind of a dynamic, teaching a certain kind of thing, is what makes it so polarizing. And I'm going to tell you a story, and this is true. Geometry in high school as a sophomore was the only class I ever failed in my entire scholastic history. And as I was circling the drain because I didn't understand it, and it wasn't that I didn't work, it wasn't that I didn't do everything I was supposed to, it's just that I simply didn't understand it. And I was told when I was handed my F at the end of the semester that perhaps if I was not so rotund and in better shape, that would make me pass geometry. So
That's disgusting.
the hatred I had for that teacher was something of an understatement. And then in summer school, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to let geometry beat me. So I took it in summer school so I could pass it. And I ended up with a B, not because repetition the second time around, I got lucky. The teacher I had in summer school in a much more accelerated pace helped me understand it. So what you say about the teacher is very true. And that's why I think you are a credit to mathematics in general, because this little baby here has some pretty sophisticated concepts, but it presents it in a way that you can see and visualize and say, you know what? I understand how that works because I've been in that situation. If you've ever bought a bra, you get it. What you and Catherine just said, you get what you're saying. You understand how that math works. And that math teacher that destroyed my life died horribly, and I was very happy that she died horribly. And she was an old woman. She looked like a corpse when she taught, and she ended up being a corpse in real life. And I had a parade. But that's neither here nor there. You shouldn't wish death on anybody except Miss O'Hare at HF back in 1986. Fucking bitch. Let's continue with this story. I'm venting some of my own mathematical demons here.
Are you feeling vindicated right now,
I'm
Steve?
feeling a little bit better about myself. And there'll be like two people that went to high school with me that'll know who Miss O'Hare was, and they too will be glad she's dead. And if anybody's watching that we're related, fuck you.
I will say that my algebra teacher freshman year would not explain things more than once. And if you asked, she would say, "This is not Burger King. You cannot have it your way." But I just wanted to understand. So I will say that, yeah, I came very close to failing, but I did pass in college with a different teacher, more difficult algebra. So
Exactly.
yeah.
It's preposterous. I mean, it's just, and Dan, to be fair, I had great teachers. I was very fortunate that way. But I just got burned out on the subject. Life was getting in the way. I had so much shit going on when that was going on. And I'm like, I cannot stay awake in college and whatever. And I just got sick of the subject. So fortunately, when I did go back, I was already thinking about these things and these teachers were filling in these gaps for me. But then, down the road, like when I met colleagues and my colleagues, some of them the greatest human beings I've ever met, and other people, I'm like, what is your problem? Like you're a mathematician, you're technically gifted, but you cannot put together A and B. Like the stuff you're saying is so stupid, and you don't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. Like, what is your problem? And it's really weird. It's like a lot of people have this air that, oh, it's such a hard subject, you must be really smart. No, you can be a total fucking moron and be technically gifted. Like there's a lot of people that are like that, like a lot of brilliant musicians and a lot of brilliant athletes and a lot of whatever, like I don't know, any subject you go into, right? You can have people that are just technically brilliant, business people, whatever, you make a ton of money, but you're a fucking idiot. Like, it's like, okay, you're a PhD in
like that.
Huh?
We know wrestlers like that.
Well, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of fucking people with like medical degrees, like brilliant doctors that have trouble with pronouns. Like, okay, hold on a second. You understand this jargon, but like pronouns are confusing you. And that's not because they're confusing. It's because you're a fucking moron. Like, just shut the fuck up. Like, if you don't agree with this, you don't understand it. Okay, well, you probably didn't understand medical science at some point, but you figured it out. You were patient with it. You just shut the fuck up and you listen. And you're like, you know what? This doesn't really affect me at the end of the day. So why don't I go fuck myself? But no, you don't have that. Somehow that thought doesn't get to the blood doesn't flow to your brain with those thoughts there, or whatever I'm trying to say, right? The oxygen doesn't supply the fuel you need to just make that fucking process. You would just get so stuck in, well, I'm so good at this and I have a fucking degree on my wall that I'm the shit, so anything that comes out of my mouth is clearly no. Go fuck yourself. It's like, so there's a lot of that going on. And the thing I will say is with mathematics, I have learned to read through research papers. I can read law. I've read IRS tax law and like Illinois FOIA law. And I was just reading up copyright information for Crimson. And it gives you the ability to tear things down into their component pieces and build it back up. So if anybody is talking shit to you, you will be able to just poke holes and you'll extract the information you need from it and understand whether that person is genuine or not or whatever. It's like you have a lot of abilities in reasoning and logic that are there by virtue of learning the subject properly. So there's a lot there beyond just solving equations. There's a whole, linguistics and so much there to do. So I want to keep encouraging people, to just dive into it and find ways to even if you don't learn it formally, it doesn't matter. Like Steve, I think you summed it up perfectly. The book is meant for you to just cackle. It's not meant for mathematical experts. If you want to dive in and solve the equations formally, you can. But if not, just give it a whirl and just have fun with it. And then if you want to know how to solve them, just message me. We can do a Zoom and I will talk you through it. I will send you solutions. And, I don't want to take anything. Eventually, I'll start making videos out of that stuff. But, I've got so much on my plate. But yeah, this will be a whole ecosystem that I need time to do.
I thought Rion was the busiest man in the world. I think you give Rion a run for his money, Goat. I really do.
I don't know, man. No, well, I owe Rion a huge thank you, and I'm going to do something very nice for you for helping me out the other day delivering. We got a nice big giant extension ladder at Homewood now, which I'm not going to climb with my skates. I'm saying that here. I know my limitations. I will not climb that motherfucker in my skates. And I'm not sure we'll even necessarily need it at the auditorium, but we may need it at a future facility. But we got to, it was a gift to us. And so Rion was gracious enough to just show up and help me transport it over. And I'm like, fucking Rion gets it, thank you so much for doing that, because that's exactly how the show must go on, right? So thank you.
You're welcome. I was on my way to breakfast on that day, and
but he still made time to pick up a ladder and drop it off to Homewood.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of Rion skills. We know it.
Mm-hmm.
And he came all the way to my house to bring me a couple of Dutch babies.
Same day.
And he came
Same day
to Homewood tonight to be part of the show live. So Rion is the whiz, and one day he will go, but we hope it's no time soon. Goat, I love the fact that you are so fucking smart. And I think I love even more that you present things so passionately and so animatedly that it makes it fun to listen to. Because people are going to say, fucking math? What's the power hour doing? And then people are going to watch this thing and have the most fun they've had all day because the commentary and everything has been very spirited. And it's only because of your aura, I guess, because you project this very specific personality that I think everybody identifies with. And I think that's what makes you who you are. I think that's what makes you the GOAT. Because when you look at you and then when you watch you and you kind of go in the universe, you're just nothing but positive. And I think that resonates. And I think the people that watch this show, even Red has perked up listening to math for an hour. And I thought Red would have logged off by now. So you held Red's interest in mathematics for an hour. And if Red can be saved, then anybody can be saved. And that's all because of you, GOAT. You really are the GOAT.
Thank you. That is very, very sweet of you. Thank you. It's ironic. It's funny because I do have my demons as well. So my partner, she's the greatest because she deals with when I get really upset at stupid shit. And sometimes I will cry at spilled milk because I think that inanimate objects that take more of my time are stealing my time, and I think that they're secretly conspiring because, you know, they don't want to be slaves to mankind. And so when they don't function properly and then they waste my time with all the shit I have to do and then they create a mess, I get very irate sometimes and I curse them out. And then I get over it, but I understand that it's difficult to deal with it for people that are around me. And if you're in the car with me someday, you'll hear me really cussing people out. And sometimes I put it on Facebook as well.
I've heard
But overall, thank you.
I will look forward to that day that we drive in a car and you chastise people. That will be a great day for me. And we are going to need you, GOAT, when Skynet takes over. So, you know, we're going to need somebody to help us against the machines.
I'm hoping just to negotiate, because I'm like, listen, I get it. There's a lot of people that do need to go. Like, we have a lot of people, especially in leadership positions, that shouldn't be there, and we need a more decentralized, you know, distribution of power. So if Skynet wants to help us do that, you know, fine. Like, we can negotiate, because it's kind of like, yeah, they're going to be smarter than we are at some point. So it's like, what purpose do we serve? Well, I don't know. AI art, that's a whole different discussion. Somebody was just asking me the other day about like whether AI will become smarter. And I'm like, well, it can't do random things. You need randomness, right? How does genetic mutation progress, right? It's through mutation. Or genetic mutation is the vehicle by which evolution happens. And that is randomness. That is not, you know, it's not planned. I mean, unless people can prove it, but it's randomness. So computers are not random. They can simulate randomness. That's a really interesting mathematical topic. We might get to a point where they can simulate it. You know, you have these what's called hashing functions that can spit out numbers that look random, but they repeat after a certain cycle. But eventually computers will become powerful enough to where that cycle won't repeat before the universe ends. So at that point, it'll be indistinguishable. So maybe, yes, an AI will be walking around being like, okay, how do I, you know, exterminate the population? Oh, I want to get some AI ice cream. Where's a squirrel? And then get back to what they're talking about. I don't know that AI will necessarily do that. Like, you could build in some stochastic component to their thought process, but like, that's what I do. You know, I don't know that it's necessarily any sort of attention deficit thing. Maybe it is, but I'm like thinking of 37 things at once. And sometimes I want to change my mind and do this. And then that gives me some inspiration to write a math problem. So it remains to be seen whether AI can be creative enough to help propagate itself and sustain itself. But until then, it probably won't, and it will need humanity to be able to open up some of those doors. So that being said, I think I can negotiate on who the cool people are and who the fucking idiots are. And then, you know, if we can get I'm hoping to get a policy passed for women to have retroactive abortion rights. And then that would be great.
Why not?
Let's fucking do it.
Yes.
Retroactive abortions here on the Power Hour.
You will
Have mercy.
everybody.
That's going to become a conservative news bite.
Everyone can get it.
Everyone, where's Paragon? Where's Paragon?
All of the people. All of
you can, you know, you can send that. You guys can just be like, no, that was him. He said that. I would be the poster child for this. Yes, I think that if your fucking offspring is out of line, like Stephen Miller or Josh Shapiro, Ben Shapiro, or these other fucking pieces
Or
of shit.
Charlie Kirk or Nick Fuentes.
Yes, you should have to be like, you know what? Enough. You have given up your humanity. You're done. You're out.
There is
Like,
a certain subset of wrestlers, Steve, that are gonna message you telling you to kick me off the show after this. I just want you to know
No,
that.
send them to me. They can fuck right off. Absolutely not. So I will let me talk to them. I'll make them fucking cry.
Hey, we do our own thing. Nobody dictates what happens on here except the people in the windows. So they can have a conversation if they
Why you
choose
look
to.
at me?
Yeah, because there's always a catch. And now I get it.
didn't do
Now I
this.
get
I
it.
didn't do this.
You didn't do it. You didn't do it. All right, so let's step over from math and retroactive or retro. We're not even gonna go. I'm not gonna say it again because I'll be canceled tomorrow. Let's talk about the upcoming knockouts bout. Because obviously Russian Blue and the GOAT Menendez will be there. What can you tell us that maybe we don't know? Because you guys have secret meetings, you have secret internet chat rooms, you have secret practices, you have this think tank of information that all the decisions happen. What can we look? What's going on? What's going on in the minds of the knockouts right now?
Well, I'll let Cactus start.
do you think we can say what the theme of the bout is?
I think so, because I know the flyer will be coming up like, and it's usually 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks out from Saturday, so
Okay.
I think the stuff will be announced very soon. I'm sure she's got it. Yeah.
So the theme is Wheels and Warriors. It is a kind of Dungeons and Dragons play. A lot of Dungeons and Dragons happening lately. It is going to be brutes versus fairies, to put it lightly. And guess what team I'm on?
You have to be a brute.
Nope.
Well, how does that get justified?
I have no idea. Should I tell them my name for the bout?
No, let's hold off. I would say let's
Okay,
just.
let's hold off on the name.
But I am so excited to see your outfit. You're going to look impeccable.
I'm going to try.
Yeah, it's going to be absurd. Yeah, it is right. So it's, if you've got, if you are a D&D person at all, I think you'll have a lot. This is going to be absolutely hysterical. Like we're very excited for this.
This is a rec league bout, so this is not for anything. This is not for playoffs. This is not for standings. This is just having fun.
In the spirit of knockouts after dark.
Yeah, it's right.
But
we were
not as
originally
After Dark.
trying to play against a Michigan league, but unfortunately we weren't able to make that happen. So we decided to do an inner rec league again. Yeah, so same vein. It's just an exhibition match.
This one will be safe for children.
Yes, this absolutely will.
The last one absolutely was not safe for. It wasn't safe for adult humans either. Because I walked away with some scars from that one, but that's neither here nor there. So that means if this is a rec league situation, that means the season continues when we hit September.
Yes, September, October, November.
So we've got a lot of season left, and still any team is eligible to win the Golden Skate. I know a couple of teams have started off a little rocky, but there's still time to acquiesce and get back up on top, and it should be a very spirited run to the end of the year.
I guess it's okay to give anyone that's not the Crushers false hope. That's very sweet of you.
Try to appease the masses in every way that I can. Goat, you are a gem and a treasure, and I'm so happy we did a show for you by yourself, because you've always been great in the knockout panel, but I just knew if we got you here and you were the center of attention, this thing would shine like a diamond. And look at that rock star right there. That is some next level shit right there. That is like a silver lame suit, and you are rocking that shit.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys are so
heart
sweet.
out.
Thank you. Yeah, again, knockouts is, has unlocked this. It lets me be who I am in my 40s. And I could not feel better about it. So it's like the perfect environment. It's kind of like all of the skills that I had built younger rolled into one ball. And it's just such an incredible environment. So thank you so much for doing this. I really had fun talking about all this. I will obviously can talk your ear off about math all day. But I'm excited to just see all of this grow, and I'm really looking forward to making the problem sets with you guys. Like, soon enough, we're going to buckle down and do that.
Oh, absolutely. And don't worry, because we're not done with you. There will be an episode 2, GOAT Part 2. When your new equations and your new book comes out, we're going to get you right back on here, and we're going to do more of this, because this was extraordinary. Even Red loved math tonight. And I'm just saying, reading is fundamental. Red is fundamental, and Red had a good time tonight. He won't admit it, but he knows he did.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
All right. This has been the GOAT of Menendez. Abbas, you're terrific. We love you. Thank you for taking your time out. You ran along tonight with us, and we appreciate it. Now we're going to make you log off and get out of here so we can talk about you behind your back. But make sure you listen, because you want to hear what we said, because we're going to give Red some math problems, and you see how he does.
I look forward to it. Thank you, guys.
All right. That is Abbas. Thank you. Well done, sir. Well done indeed. And he's gone. Now tell me that wasn't fucking outstanding.
He's very passionate. I mean, he's passionate again. I hate math. So you're not gonna change it.
We talked about swingers. We talked about penetration. We talked about boobs. We talked about Skynet. I mean, we hammered that shit tonight.
Yeah, y'all covered a lot, but that don't mean I'm like math. Again, does it change my paycheck? No, it don't.
Hey, maybe if you become a math star, it will change your paycheck. You don't go to sleep on math, Red.
She,
We're gonna get Marche out there and do the velocity of the chop, and you're gonna be the guy who chops.
no, it ain't, because you gonna see at the speed in which I run.
Yeah, that'd be well. There you go. That in itself is a math. See, Red, you're learning. It's all math, Red.
Don't get it twisted. I know that math and numbers and all of that shit makes the world what it is, but do I need all of that every day? No.
Do you need the horizontal mambo every day? Because there's math there. Abbas told us in and out. That's math.
We ain't even
Like
going
600
down that rabbit
grandchildren.
hole.
You got 600 grandchildren. You should be a scholar when it comes to that style of math.
All I need to know is when your birthday, when is Christmas, how much money I got. We'll see.
That's amazing. I want Cactus to say a few words about what we just saw. That was amazing, was it not?
It was. I'm sure you could tell very quickly why Goat and I are such good friends.
100%.
Yeah, very, very much two birds of a feather. Yeah, that's Goat. That's Goat all the time. Goat always has that kind of energy, always has that kind of passion about everything. There is honestly like very few people on earth that I connect with as well as I connect with him. And it took a while. As we all know, I don't like men. And
Yes, that is affirmative.
he had to run the gauntlet before I gave him more than a hi when he said hello to me, like a hi, and then moved on like he wasn't even there. And he put up with it. And actually, it was funny when you said something about serial killer earlier, because he was telling me once that some friends that he had a few years ago had said to him they were trying to figure out at one point if he was really this nice of a guy or if he's a serial killer. And I'm here to tell you that he really is this nice of a guy. But yeah, we couldn't do anything without Goat. The Goat is always up for an adventure, always looking for a way to help. There's just nobody like him.
Every family has the glue, and I think he is the glue of the Knockout family. He keeps kind of everything all together in my mind, and he's just so damn likable, and that's what I love about him. He's just so easy. He's so easy to like and so easy to be around, and that to me is worth its weight in gold. So thank you. We love you. I had a great time. It was amazing. Riyadh, thoughts
Just in general?
about the GOAT?
Okay. So I was gonna just keep putting pictures up because we were still chatting about him, but that should just tell you the impact that he has. Because normally when a guest leaves, we say, "Wasn't that wonderful?" People will say a couple things, and then we move on to whatever wrestling bit or whatever we have to do. But he has affected the panel as he does with literally everything else that he is around. That is just that's him. That is his energy. That is what he presents to people. That's what you see. You see him at the bar. You see him outside. You see him on skates. You see him at a beach. That is the energy he presents. They do have a term as far as saying one of one. He is that. He is definitely one of one. There's not. I haven't met someone like him like that.
He is
one of one.
He is the guy. There's no doubt about that. PX, your thoughts? I know you got pretty excited there with the boob talk.
It was quite titillating, I'm not gonna lie.
You're hooked.
Saw that coming. I knew he was going to do it, so I just let him have it. It had to happen. What did you learn?
I did
What'd you
enjoy
learn,
it.
top fan?
What's that?
What'd you learn, top fan?
I learned there's so many different applications to math that even I didn't think about.
And
I want that book. I got to get that book.
Well, there's all kinds of stuff that Rian put up in pictures. So when you watch the episode back, make sure you get the information and go to that bookstore and get yourself a copy, because it really is a very interesting read. Even if you don't like it, even if you don't like the presentation of what he does in this book, it's so interesting. And that's why I really enjoyed it. And now Rian is taking us through Abbas and his dealings with all the knockouts, and you're getting all the superstars. There's Mindy, all the superstars. We had Jen and Tonic before, so he is that guy that everybody loves, and that's what makes him amazing. So we'll have him back. We're definitely going to have him back. We just scratched the surface. When I said Skynet and he went into that was,
all of us are going to die.
we're gonna
You leave that.
Oh, so speaking of how invested he gets in things, a few, like right at the beginning of COVID, probably the summer, Andrew and I went for a walk. I'll give you the lore and then I'll tell you what came out of it and what GOAT did. We went for a walk on the Erie-Lackawanna Trail, which is like connects like Crown Point and Highland, I believe. And for some reason, there was like a chain link fence along, and someone every few feet had stuffed loaves of bread and not like nicely packaged ones. There was like ripped out of the package and like stuffed into the chain link, pieces of pizza, pieces of chicken. And so Andrew, being Andrew, he decided he was going to tell Hazel that we saw a bread monster. So a couple of months later, we did like a trail skate. A bunch of people from CKO and GOAT came on it, and Hazel told him about the bread monster. And like right away, one of the dads that was with us was like, "Oh, it's made up." And GOAT was like, "Nope, we're gonna find out." Like they had like a notebook dedicated to the bread monster. They had Zoom calls about the bread monster, him and Hazel and her friend who's same age as her. And like, they were invested. We would go out to dinner and he would have the notebook and they're like, "All right, what are some tips we have on the bread monster?" Like, he gets so invested in everything. And like, with kids, like, every kid needs to meet someone that thinks everything that they say is brilliant, and that is GOAT. Like, he makes children feel like, and I'm not saying they're not the smartest, but like really makes them feel like the smartest, most brilliant kid in the room. And like, again, I cannot say enough about the cryptid that we accidentally created, the bread monster.
And now you have channeled the bread monster onto our screen. There it is. So don't let Hazel watch this. It might scar her.
I will not.
All right. So before we wrap this package, let's finish up the hold the line card real quick.
I will be skedaddling.
But I want your opinions on these Okay, well, I'll let you skedaddle. You were here early and you were very active throughout this whole show. So as far as I'm concerned, we got our Cactus Rats money's worth.
You did. I love you all. Smooches.
Go, girl.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. That is, of course, the lovely and talented Cactus Rack. Let's go through this real quick, and then we will say goodnight for now. Fatal Four-Way, C-Red. You know a lot about these people. Fatal Four-Way, Disco Ray versus EJ Swanson versus former battle champion Adonis Allen versus Joseph Von Jaeger. That's a Fatal Four-Way. Who steps above? These are all great young talent. Who rises to the occasion to win this match?
Von Jaeger.
Rian, what do you think?
Everybody.
Rian's voting for everybody. There's going to be no winners. Everybody wins. 4 winners. What about you, Pax?
JVJ all the way.
So Rian and Pax go for Von Jaeger. I'm going to take the dark horse in this one. I'm going to go all the way with Disco Ray.
I'm pretty sure that the C-Red went with that. You said Rian. I said everybody.
I'm sorry. I meant Red.
You're confusing black people left and right on this show. I don't understand how we got here.
Tiny racism. Tiny racism. Max Holiday said that's okay. That's not it. I'm tired and it's late. Moving on. Tag team action, a very interesting tag team. I think Red would enjoy this match. I know I'm going to enjoy it. You've got the Windy City Devils. That is Ewok and Rockin' Rivera taking on, as far as I know, the first time ever pairing of Shaq Jordan and Swoggle. Tell me a little bit about what you think that match is going to be.
I'm taking regardless. I don't care. Shaq and Swoggle.
What do you think is going to make Shaq and Swoggle a great tag team?
The shenanigans that can be played.
Going to be a lot of shit talking in that match. I'll tell you that right now. And you know, Rivera and Ewok don't like that. So you have four very conflicting personalities here. So you're taking Swoggle and Shaq. What about you, PX?
So I'm taking the generational treasure and the second generation son of Finley Swoggle with the W on this one.
That's wise, young man. Rion, what say you of this tag team match?
Who are the champions?
No champions. It's the former champions, the Windy City Devils, Rockin' Rivera, Ewok, taking on Shaq Jordan and Swoggle. That's we're gonna have a complete agreement on there. We're all going with Shaq and Swoggle because you've got the generational treasure and the legend. So when you put those two together, even though Ewok is a hard striker and you can't put anything past Rivera, in the end, I think that's the entertainment value. We've got a Battle Pro Championship match between the muscle-bound Hercules that is Ritas Atlas and the mauler, the most violent man in Frontline, Michael Wayne. This match is going to get out of control. Ritas just won the championship and plans to keep that for a long time. Michael Wayne is a deathmatch guy. He is off the chart violent. So this is the sleeper match of the night. This could be the match of the night. My heart says Ritas Atlas because he is spectacular, but the devious nature of Michael Wayne may make the championship reign of Ritas Atlas short. I'm going to take Ritas because I always go with my heart. I very rarely go with my head. That's why I get beat up an awful lot. Red, what say you?
No skin in the game. Don't know neither one of them.
Yeah, if I know Red like I know Red, I think you would identify with Ritas because he is the kind of guy that you would put in your stable. He would make a very effective member of the ARC. But that's neither here nor there. What say you, Rion Skills?
You give me the choices again, please.
That would be Ritas Atlas, the champion, the Battle Pro champion, versus Michael Wayne. He is a very violent son of a gun.
Unfortunately, I have not seen either of these competitors work, but I am going to just take a guess. Battle Pro champion retains.
Okay, so there we go, by process of elimination. Then we have the Frontline Tag Team Championship match. It is Brock Hall and ACR, two monsters like you would find in the Plague or in the Wyatt Six. They're very much of that genre. They're horrifying, they're scary, especially ACR. That is some fucked up shit right there. They are taking on what could be the most popular tag team in the state of Wisconsin, Kid Lat and the big guy, Josh Price. They made their own song. It's if you've watched any of the promos, they are entertainment personified. I don't know how they get it done, but in my heart, I know Kid Lat and the big guy win this match. Red?
Well, I'm not going to pick against my nephew, so.
Kid Lat and the big guy. PX?
Kid Lat and the big guy, easily.
All right, so we're all in unanimous there. And then it comes down to the Frontline Championship. It is the rematch of For the Brave. New champion Ben Evenson giving the creator Ben McCoy his rematch. He beat the brakes off of Ben McCoy. Ben McCoy had to be carried out of the arena by the officials. And now they're going to do it again. And it's a boot camp match where there are no rules. I don't even know what a boot camp match is. It doesn't sound very pleasant. But
boot camp ain't.
Rapture has been destroyed. Ben McCoy is a shell of his former self. And the super soldier, Ben Evenson, the champion, I think, is in for a long reign. He is that damn good, and he owned Ben McCoy that night. I don't think anything changes. I take Captain America. I take the super soldier, Ben Evenson. He will retain his title. Red, what say you?
The creator.
Why? Why would you pick that son of a bitch? He put
You
all
really,
his, he
you
put all his
really, so you really bought that, and I don't know if you saw it. I'm assuming you have that little video out of woe is me and I lost, and come on now. I don't buy that bullshit. I don't.
He's a broken man.
If anything, he has a plan. And those plans call for, again, retribution. And again, he's gonna get this title.
You're way off your rocker here, Red. You're out of your depth. But I will.
How do you figure that when guess what? I've done it before. I've done again. Geniuses use the same playbook. You don't have to rewrite the formula. Again, you want to talk about math? Here it is. There's a math equation.
I
right
like what
there.
you did there. I like what you did there. That was very good. Very way to tie the whole room together like the rug and Big Lebowski. Pac-Man, what do you say?
I think Ben's gonna take this one, honestly.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not. I seriously think that Ben's gonna win.
Which Ben?
Yes.
Fuck you, top fan. This message is to Tom from Fourth Mother Box. Will you please come take him away somehow? Please help us out, man. We're Freaknet mates. Get rid of PX. Get rid of this top fan. Help me, Tom. You're my only hope. Rian, what say you about this match?
No, I think it's gonna go in no contest. That's just me.
That's a possibility. I mean, I'm sure Ben McCoy is coming to fight, but Ben Evenson proved too strong for the break. That's Hold the Line. That's this Saturday in Marshfield. If you're out that neck of the woods, come check it out. It is going to be splendid. And meet Swoggle. I mean, why wouldn't you want to meet Swoggle? He's a legend. We thought he was Vince McMahon's son for the longest time, but that's neither here nor there. We want to thank the GOAT Menendez for joining us tonight and being extraordinary. I want to thank Rian for coming here. I want to thank Red for being part of a math episode, even though he warned us that he wasn't. I want to thank the top fan for all his pictures, and we want to thank Cactus Rack for her participation. Next week, we will have a interesting guest. I'm not going to tell you, though, because I want it to be a surprise. So from all of us here at the Power Hour,
I'll tell you.
Who is it?
I'll tell you.
Tell me.
Me.
You're our special guest?
Me.
Well, there you go.
And Pat.
Oh yeah, I might go to that.
And C Red.
Just threw me out, hung me out to dry.
I haven't even got and Cactus.
Okay. They let the cat out of the bag.
And Steve. Did I actually do anything other than just say
No, but now we're gonna do it anyway because I feel like the surprise is ruined.
How is the surprise
next week on this show?
Let's be real with each other. Since you want to go and drop bombs, how is this any different than other than me just saying who the cast is here? What am I actually saying, Steve? Before you start spiting people,
I'm not spiting.
You are. I want you to tell me what am I actually saying wrong. What am I saying wrong?
You're not saying anything wrong.
Okay.
You covered yourself nicely when you started.
I'm not even sure what I covered other than saying everything that everyone's here.
All right.
What is the special guest?
The special guest, it is a special event, Power Hour next Tuesday night. Next Tuesday, the 13th of October, or of August, not October, because that would be in the future. The 13th of August is
I like the October one.
It is the birthday of Mr. Rian Skills.
Mm-hmm.
So next week, we are going to have so many guests, so many people checking in to celebrate the birthday of the real deal that it ought to be a great, fun episode, much like tonight was.
Or it could be like that last appreciation thing where it just went into me being to a match and a fucking just storyline that went on for an entire season at Rocket Pro.
Well,
it could be one of those things. It could be a ruse, everybody.
It could be
because that's exactly what happened last time they tried to do an appreciation for Rion Skills, and it ended up being a ruse.
This is
to
not
the point where people forgot how to wave. That happened. That was a real thing that took place. It could be one of two things. It could be genuine from the heart, or it could be something to take away someone's soul. It could be one of the two. Guess we'll see on that day. Guess we'll see.
Don't miss the birthday celebration of our friend Rion Skills next Tuesday night on the Power Hour.
I won't be here.
He won't be here, but we'll be here, and so will our guests, celebrating the many years of the real deal. And I can tell you this, because Rion won't be here, we have brought in a special guest co-host for the evening. And would you like to know who our special guest Power Hour co-host
You
is?
should put a poll up, see who they think is going to be.
No, because it's already done deal. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up.
He wants hopes up.
I mean, because there's only one guy that could be a co-host of the Power Hour that night and make it work and make sense. Only one.
Max Holiday.
Max Holiday is right. Ding, ding, ding. The urban sensation with the cookie. You won. That's right. Max Holiday will be a special guest host next Tuesday night on Birthday Rion episode.
Already hate it.
He already hates it, which
hate
means we're doing something right.
But
the trolling episode, everyone. I don't think you understand. This isn't coming from the heart. This is coming from a place of malice.
It's hard.
I don't think people understand that.
It's coming from the heart.
It is coming. There's a literal meme of me on here right now. This is coming from a place of fucking malice, and people don't even realize it. But all right, guess we'll see what happens.
Next Tuesday night, Rion is acknowledged. It is his birthday. The tribal liaison gets his deal.
Coming from a place
of love.
But since you said I won the cookie, Steve, I like a crumble. So when I see you later on, I like my cookie, and I'm dead serious. You said it. I can take you to court for it.
If you want a cookie, I'll bring you a cookie to Rocket Pro. I'll bring you some cookies, motherfucker. Don't call me out on this show that I am a cookie Nazi or something. Now, that's coming from a place of malice, goddammit.
You said it. I didn't.
I'll get you a cookie. I'll get you your goddamn cookie. Can't bite the neck off the cookie either. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday, and have a great night.